Hello and welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. I'm Owain and it is 2 weeks to go until Valencia. Valencia is still happening. Dan is still here. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good. I guess that's the big news today, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
Valencia's happening, which is great. I'd heard so many rumors, like people saying, "Oh, it's definitely going to be cancelled. It's definitely going to be cancelled." And other people saying, "No, it's 100% going ahead. 100% going ahead." And even the inside knowledge you get from people who I know, I know people who know people, and they're going, "Oh," it was just so conflicting. So yeah, great if it's going ahead. I think. They're marketing it as, resilient Valencia, strong Valencia, like overcoming obstacles. I think they've tried to make the economic case as well, which I think is a legitimate economic case for the amount of, I think it's like 50,000 people, of which not many will be local Valetians, are they? So I think, the amount of people staying there and contributing to the economy is hopefully, hopefully it goes smoothly and it does help the city, right?
Yeah.
Because as we talked about earlier, there's bigger, it's just running, isn't it? But selfishly, I wanted to go ahead after doing all this training, having a whole podcast series of building up to it. But it's a go.
How close did you get to binning it off and doing Pisa like a few people are?
Like a few people are, because a couple of athletes I coach who have been, they're preparing for Valencia, and they were giving me all the options. Like you got Pisa, you got Malaga, but then I knew an announcement would come pretty soon, so I was just holding off. And to be honest, my alternative was probably to go do Liverpool Cross. I think that was going to be the alternative, which is fuck it.
It's competitive a race, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the motivations for doing this was to try and get the European road running team, get a GB vest, and if I can't have a go at the marathon, but maybe the European cross, it would have been a big outside shot. But I came 20th at Liverpool a few years ago, and I'm in better shape now. Not quite done cross country specific stuff, but I don't think you need to do low. I'm good at the cross normally, so that would have been my backup racing Liverpool on Saturday. But yeah,
I mean, you could have done Blorenge Fell Race with me on the Saturday before Valencia. That was an option as well.
Oh well, maybe maybe I've done through cross and then done my debut fell race. Yeah.
As always, we're supported by Soar. We're really enjoying our Soar stuff, especially as it's gotten cold. Dan, you borrowed my Tempo top this morning. What did you think?
I liked it actually. Yeah. It was we've been away, and I was in a rush this morning to get to work, and I had shorts and a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, but that was it. And realized that was gonna be freezing, but managed to borrow a Soar jacket off you. Nice and warm, kept the wind off, and
it's good, isn't it? I really like when we got sent this. I'd look it up. It's called the Soar Tempo top. When we got sent it, I was like, I don't know what this is for. It's really lightweight. It doesn't have a hood. And then I'd say definitely go look at the design. There's a designer video that explains the garment, which is really cool. Understanding why they've made it. And since then, I've worn it all the time, and I think it's class. It's such a good
Well, you have been in it every run you've been.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
to get cold. I tell you what I've been enjoying is the base layer, which again I got this. It was a pure white base layer. And I nearly see through, so you couldn't just wear it as a top. And I thought, all right, what am I going to use this for? And then actually underneath the jacket, it's fantastic, especially when it's it's wet. So you want to wear a waterproof jacket on, but it's not Baltic. So you don't want a scratchy jacket on underneath. And I've got long sleeve tops, but they're just they're not that great, are they? Not that breathable. Whereas this is really, really nice, and I've been living in that for the last as soon as it's dry, it gets put back on, and I've been enjoying that.
Yeah. So thank you, Saul, as always. So week commencing 11th of November. Let's
should we crack on?
Go through it.
Let's go. All right, so I went on the trails Monday morning. 9 nursery or play group, sorry. So I got out on the trails, did 15k, 4:27 a k. So pretty slow, but I was a bit tired. there was nearly 200 meters of climbing in there as well. So that's going to bring the pace down a bit. But yeah, fine. Standard Monday morning. And then standard Monday evening recently, took Noah out in the buggy. He was demanding the song "Down in the Jungle," if you're familiar with it. I'm not gonna give you a rendition now, but yeah, he was and he makes up his own words, his own lyrics, and demands what animal is down in the jungle next. So I had to sing that for 47 minutes as I pushed Nye around in my buggy. So it was a 10k, 441 a k, pretty slow, but again, like pushing a buggy and just, yeah, pretty tired. Heart rate was 116, so although the pace was slow, at least the heart rate was nice and low as well. So yeah, Monday ticked off. Tuesday morning, then session day. It was quite a nice morning, I think, from memory, but I went with treadmill because I managed to borrow a pair of the Asics Meta Speed Skies off Dave Long. Shout out to him. Ran a 66-minute half marathon recently, which is in my shoes. So he lent me a pair to try. So I did a comparison between the Skies and the edges of they need to work on their like names of their shoes, because like
it's super confusing as well.
What is it? Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. Like, and we've got Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris, or was it Paris Edge? I don't know. But anyway,
I think there was a Sky Plus at one point or something as well.
There was, yeah. So anyway, I did 5 by 6 minutes at the start at 308 a k, 19.1 k an hour, 503 a mile, whatever you want to frame it, and just alternated between the two shoes. So did that with the Vinter, so I met a metabolic cart to see what the option cost was in those different shoes. And it was interesting actually, because to look at them are identical. It's just the shape of the plate that's different, and you go, "Wow, what difference is that going to make?" Everyone goes, "It's the foam that makes a difference." But I was noticeably more economical in the Sky than the Edge, so that was nice, because that was like, you know, I PB'd in the Edge over 5k and a half marathon, and we go, okay, if I get the Sky, maybe that'll get me a couple of seconds a k. It wasn't quite as robust a job in terms of measuring the economy, because I only did a two-way I only did 2 trials in each shoe. I would like to have done 3, which is what I've done previously, but I didn't want to compromise the session either, because I didn't want to just go and do 5 by 6 minutes again. Because I think I said in my last podcast, I wanted to add a bit more intensity, and that might have been after we recorded, but I wanted to add a bit more intensity and run at some faster speeds. So I didn't want to just do 10 by 6 minutes again at marathon pace. So I did 5 by 6, and the average oxygen consumption was a good chunk lower in the Sky than the Edge. I haven't done the maths properly yet, but it was again like a couple of seconds a k sort of difference, which is over a marathon is quite a bit. Not 90 seconds. So that was exciting. Hopefully some free seconds on the table there. So I bought a pair of them, managed to get a pair, which arrived yesterday. So that's very exciting. So yeah, 5 by 6
unbelievable you've actually bought a pair of shoes.
I know. Well, I bought 2. Like, this is I have no official affiliations with Asics, but this is my endorsement, is that I've gone and bought a pair of 2 pairs of Asics super shoes, because I think they're the best. I still haven't tried the latest Nike, as we talked about before, Nike, but I do think both the Edge and the Sky, but especially the Sky for me at least, seem to be better, and they are quite. It's cool looking at them, because you can see, because of where like the foam joins, you can see the plate. Mm-hmm. I'll bring them in to show you next time I do a session, but you can see where like there's quite a distinct like difference in the shape of the plate.
It would be interesting to see. Like I've read there's Doctors of Running, which is quite a good like review site, and they use like evidence based sort of discussion, and they've talked about how if the apex of the curve of the plate lines up with, I think, your first metatarsal, that's maybe that might be a way to sort of determine if a shoe is going to be good for you or not. It'd be curious to see like if that.
Yeah.
I'll find the paper and then see what
Interesting.
that says. Yeah.
I think from what I've seen, like I've only tested one other person in the Sky versus the Edge. You may be better in the Sky. And anecdotally, people tell me, some people do say, "Oh, I prefer the Edge," but I think people who are sponsored by ASICS pretty much get told apparently to by default choose the Sky, but it might be most people the Sky is better, but for some the Edge is better. So for me, the Sky seemed to be better.
Yeah,
I
remember.
Go on.
I was gonna say I remember hearing as well. Nike pushed people into the Alpha Fly for the marathon over the Vaporfly. Like I think their reasoning was after sort of 30k, you get more back from the Alpha Fly that you might not necessarily feel when you're training in it. You might feel like it's quite heavy. I mean, I haven't worn either shoe, but like it might feel heavier when you're doing a session, but actually when you get to a point in a marathon that you don't ever get to in training, it's more beneficial. So yeah, interesting. That's not the only brand that pushes people into one shoe.
Yeah. And I just looking I've got it here, right? You can sort of see because of the joint, you probably won't pick it up on my camera because of the shape of you can see where the foam joins. And I'm assuming that's where the plate is. That's what it feels like if it's just feeling like bending it and twisting it. But it's actually a flatter plate, the Sky. Whereas like the Edge, it curves more down. So actually at the forefoot, the plate is closer to the ground. Which I don't know. I'm not a biomechanist, but I'm trying the shoes on. It did feel like I was getting rocked forward more in the Skies. They both feel great, but I was feeling like I was transitioning quicker in the Skies. I do think they need to work on their marketing with because like they advertise it as more of if you're more of a cadence based runner or a stride based runner, and that doesn't really mean very much, does it?
Yeah.
But maybe they're just trying to justify why they've got two shoes when most people run better in the Skies. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, regardless, I bought the Skies. I'm going to try and do a couple of sessions in them, and I will, most likely be running Valencia in the Skies. So that's cool. Again, like going back to what we talked about last time, I was a bit disappointed there wasn't a bigger gap between the Adios Pro 3s and the Edges, because I was hoping that all this I'd be so much faster in my racing versus training. So I was doing most of the training on the Adios Pro 3s, but maybe I've widened that gap a bit. Maybe at some point, probably post Valencia now, I need to do a proper comparison between all of them again, but more robust, doing 3 trials in each, because that protocol did seem to work pretty well.
And this testing sort of sheds some light about why it's so difficult to do this testing, because no brand is going to send you these shoes for free to test and potentially come off looking bad.
Yeah.
Like that. So and you're doing an N of 1 and doing it over time, which, like you wouldn't get this published, right? Because you're not doing it on the same day, same conditions, same athlete wearing the shoes. And this is one person trying to do it, not 15 or 20 that you need for a well-powered study. So
but there's not enough incentive to publish that sort of work, because you would have to spend, like you said, no shoe company is going to give you all the shoes you need, because they're going to be potentially come out badly out of it. So
so for one runner with 5 shoes is £1,000. So 15 grand to do a study.
Yeah, I mean,
where you might not find anything either.
But you'd probably just have to, like, I've seen like studies advertised, and they're like, right, we need males size 8.5, right? That's the criteria you're in. I think the other difficulty is also with the shoe economy stuff is, you want to run it ideally at pretty close to race pace. So, which is what I've been taking the approach of. But that is when you're going to see more variation over time. So that's why you need to do the repeat trials, like 3 trials. I think is better than 2. So going like, Sky, Edge, Adios Pro 3, Sky, Edge, Adios Pro 3, Sky, Edge, Adios Pro 3, which I've done previously. Whereas if you're just going to get, because you're not in it, I was below my threshold, but I'm in a quasi steady state. It's not a pure steady state. You're still going to get drift. And actually, I was often seeing my oxygen consumption was drifting downwards over the course of the session. So I was getting more economical because I'm in a hot lab. I'm losing, a well-conditioned lab, but still, like, you're running on a treadmill where you're losing quite a bit of fluid. Like, I lost 2 kilos over the course of the session I did last time. So if I got someone to carry 2 kilos whilst we're running, that'd be noticeably different in their oxygen cost. You'd be able to detect those sort of changes. So you could doing it at slower speeds, like below your first lactate threshold, LT1. Yeah, you're going to be more stable, but then you're not running at race pace, and maybe that might influence things a bit.
Yeah, it's and you have to have the gas data to do this. Like I'm really, really skeptical when I hear of like shoe testing where they're just taking lactates and they're just going on like time for, especially like outdoors. And there's just so many, like if you're testing over 2 hours, the temperature can change. Lots of little things where if you're looking at 1 or 2 seconds over like a kilometer, they can be thrown out by a number of other variables that you can't control.
100%. Yeah, you definitely need gas data, and lactate I think is absolutely a no-go at all. Like just too many variables there. I mean, I had someone message me like, could you use heart rate? And I think you could use heart rate in it if you were doing like normal shoe versus super shoe comparison, because it'd be more obvious. But between like I went back and then looked at the data for the shoes, and there was like a 1 beat range between the most economical and least economical. And it didn't correlate with the gas data 100% either. Like it wasn't a good correlation. So when you're looking at these small changes, just the gas data is better, and you're going to see heart rate's even more susceptible to drift than oxygen consumption as well. So I think it's
one of those things, and like it happens in it happens in a lot of research, right, where you just start to like pull this thread, and you're like, okay, but what about this? Like I've had it with the stuff I'm doing. It like someone asked me like, oh, should I have dinner before I come back for a sample? And I was like, well, I don't think that's going to affect EPO, but it might. And then you start to pull this thread and you're just like, oh, maybe I should control this and this and this and this. And then you just end up being like, I don't think I can adequately control, with shoe testing, adequately control everything to where using lactate and heart rate, you actually get meaningful differences that aren't just error of measurement, especially with like a Lactate Pro or something like, and then you just come back to like, okay, what's the most comfy?
Because I mean, I think we've got, whether it's shoe testing or whatever, I think you find that actually you can't design a perfect study. It's always a compromise, especially when you're taking into account real world stuff and applied stuff where it's much more case study based N of 1. You've got to there's always going to be a compromise between how rigorous you can be, and then the confidence you can have in results, and how applicable is it. You can't tick every box.
And then you chuck in the shoe brand's own marketing as well. And you see it with everything, don't you? Like, oh, these are the most economical, these are the best shoes for the marathon. But like, what about the previous version that you said?
It was also
the same thing about.
I don't know. But anyway, that was the first part of my session on Tuesday morning. I did 5 by 6 minutes there with the gas data and compared that. Lactate VM was 2.1 millimole, which was a good chunk lower than the 12 by 6 minutes I did a week before, which from memory was, Strava's being crazy here, was more like was in the high twos. So that gave me some confidence. It was, I think, at a similar time point, you took a 2.8 millimole reading, I'm pretty sure. My Strava's been glitchy in my phone. But anyway, so that was good. 5 by 6 minutes, 2.1 millimole at the end, all at 19.1 k an hour. So then I did 8 by 3 minutes, put the speed up to 20 k an hour, so 3-minute Ks. And that felt really, really cruisy, which was great. Took a lactate after each one, which meant I think I had about a minute to 70. I was trying to keep recoveries to a minute, but sometimes it took me a little bit longer to take the sample. So sometimes it got up to like 90, I think up to 90 seconds, but most of them were about a minute and like 70, 75 seconds, that sort of thing. And lactates started off at 2.8, but then went 2.6, 2.3, 2.2, taking it every second one. So I think I had a question from
I was going to say we had Hugh regularly bashes my head in the cross country. One day I'll get Hugh.
Yeah, and how old's Hugh? He's about 50.
Yeah,
pretty sure he's about 50, isn't he? Yeah, he's good runner. Good runner. Shares the same birthday as me. There's a fun fact for you. Also the same birthday as Chris Hoy, Mo Farah, Steve Redgrave, So if you want,
What a day.
23rd of March, obviously a different year, but yeah, 23rd of March is the day that you should be born if you're an endurance athlete, apparently. But yes, got distracted. What did he ask?
He asked about lactate going down across the reps.
Yeah. So I started at 2.8, then it went 2.6, 2.3, 2.2. And often you'll see either with like just starting off from the first rep of a session, like if it was if I just did 10 by K in 3 minutes or whatever, or something like below threshold, you'd expect it to go up a little bit at the start and then like level out, like drop down a little bit, because you get a bit of well, basically the aerobic system doesn't gear up straight away. Like you see it on heart rate. You don't suddenly if your average heart rate for if you're peaking if you're doing 5-minute intervals and your heart rate is 170 at the end, it doesn't just jump up to 170. It'll start off at 155, 160, 165, and it'll start to stabilize at 170. And that just that indicates that your aerobic system just doesn't gear up straight away. So to cover that energy gap, that energy deficit, you need to use glycolysis or anaerobic metabolism. So that involves producing a bit more lactate. So that's at the start of a session, but I think you often see the same when you jump up the intensity. So if I've gone from running at 19k an hour, then suddenly I go running at 20k an hour, well, I'm pretty warmed up when I'm running at 19k an hour, especially for 6-minute intervals. But suddenly to jump another k an hour, another like 10 beats, whatever in heart rate up, then you often see this gap. But that's importantly, you need to be below like your LT2 for this to happen. If you're above LT2, and things are just going to keep drifting upwards.
This is it's the same sort of theory that we talked about with the priming episode and like VO2 kinetics and oxygen debt. When you either start or increase intensity, you have to, like you said, cover the energy requirement that's not coming from your aerobic system.
And like, although I will have been like primed in quotation marks by doing the 5 by 6 minutes, there's still a little bit of a jump in lactate. And 2.8 versus 2.2. This is on our lab biosyn, by the way. It's not a massive difference, but it's a measurable difference. But what gave me a lot of confidence was that really clearly shows to me that I'm below LT2 there, like at 20k an hour, or only 3-minute stages. But actually, if my lactate is coming down to pretty much the same as when I was doing the 19.1k an hour stages, like 308k, then that's a great sign that I'm below threshold there. So that was really nice. I feel like that's a shift on from where I was a couple of weeks ago. So that was great. And then finished the session with 10 times 75 seconds with 30 seconds recovery, 21k an hour. So that's 251 a k. Just took one lactate at the end because I wanted to keep the recoveries to 30 seconds. I'm not taking a lactate on the biosyn in 30 seconds on myself. That's a challenge. On a portable device, all right, I could do that. I've done that, but not on the biosyn. It takes a little bit. It's a bit more fiddly. But yeah, they felt great as well. 3.3 millimole at the end there. So again, maybe that's slightly above threshold LT2 for me, but considering the nature of the reps, like 21k an hour is definitely above LT2, but doing it just 75 seconds of work at that, you're not going to produce that much lactate, even with 30 seconds recovery. So overall, I feel like that's the best session I've ever done, potentially, certainly best threshold session. Really happy with where my LT2 is. That seems great. I had a bit of doubts after doing that 4x4 mile session the week before, thinking, is my threshold good enough? Is my LT2 good enough? But that's the best I've ever done on that treadmill, and I've done a lot of sessions on that treadmill. So that was really good confidence booster. I think my heart rate peaked at 165 for the session, and my LT2 is normally like 170. So then you argue maybe I should have pushed it. The paces a bit more, but my legs were tired. It was one of those ones where I felt good, like cardiovascularly, felt like I was doing nothing, but my legs were just like a bit heavy, a bit tired. And I was like, well, I'm running fast enough here. Like I don't need to be running faster than 250 a k. When I'm going to be trying racing at 308 a k, that's fast enough. So yeah, really happy with that. That was a really good confidence booster. maybe, and then like combined with knowing Valencia was going ahead, I was like, yeah, really excited now to go race. So yeah, we spent a lot of time talking on that one session, but that's,
I mean,
that was done.
at the same time though, like, I mean, jumping ahead would be weak, but that's probably your last big session, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, the intention was to do something else, but we'll get to that later. Or like, just I in my head I thought this could be my last big one, or last like one where I'm really trying to build fitness. So but that went well. I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, it was a nice. It just felt like another step forward on the sessions I've done previously. Like I said, probably the best threshold session I've ever done on that treadmill. Running at just the perception of effort as well, just forgetting about lactates and heart rates, like the 21k an hour, it didn't feel that hard. Like obviously I'm like, relative to how I'd expect it to feel and how it's felt in the past, obviously I'm working pretty hard. Like 68 seconds or something. 68 second for 400-meter pace, which is, it's still only a little bit slower than 5k pace for me, I think. I think I averaged like 67 high and for 5k my PB, so it's still like it should feel reasonably comfortable, but it felt pretty good. And yeah, just knowing that at that stage, what's that would have been like it's like 2.5 weeks out basically, isn't it? So it's nice.
Would that be 18 19 days out?
So just to know that, like, right, I just need to maintain this basically. That's quite a nice position instead of like chasing fitness going into a week off, or 2 weeks to go, which was sort of how I felt I was last year going into Valencia. I was like, right, things only seem to really click like a week before the taper. Whereas this time it's felt much more like I was already in a good place, like 10 weeks out. And things have just continued to get trends better with peaks and troughs that you normally get in a marathon block. But happy with that. Nice confidence boost, as I said, and just mentality then goes to like just defending what you've got rather than building. Which is good because the rest of the week was okay, but like starts to get into classic taper period. Ran 10k that evening, 420 a k, fine. The next day, Wednesday 13th, 16k in the morning. I did feel a bit tired. It was also early and cold, so I left my house at 5:53 a.m. 16k at 4:27s. But again, average heart rate was really low, 116. Just ticking my miles off. 10k in the afternoon, 420 a k, feeling a bit more sprightly. Thursday, I had a day off, which was nice. So I joined Jemima for her session. She did 10 by 3 minutes off about a minute recovery. So 10 by 3 minutes. We were doing, what were we averaging? We were going at a decent pace, I think. Like 4:15, 4:09, 4:10. Yeah, getting to a couple of sub fours at the end. Okay. So yeah, she's going pretty well. I mean, she's which is nice. So yeah, I did that with her because we had the day off, and then I jogged in to get to 20k running at 5 minutes. Average for was 5 minutes a k pace, so it was pretty low intensity. Average heart rate 112. But again, like at this point, I just need to keep doing miles, I think, rather than worry about whether I'm running 4:20 a k or 5 minute k's. Does it really matter? Probably not. But then that afternoon didn't manage to double that day. So because we were that afternoon, we were traveling up to Scotland for a wedding, which was great fun, but a bit exhausting. Lots of driving. Stopped in Kendal. So Thursday afternoon, drove up to Kendal on the way. So that gets us to Friday morning. I did a session there, Kendal, not the best for fast running. I've been there a couple of times before. Really nice place, the edge of the Lake District. A nice place to stop to break up the drive. But the longest stretch I could find of good running was about 400 meters. So that sort of limited what I could do. I still wanted to do a session that day because I knew I'd give. I think on the Saturday was a wedding, and I think that was going to be a struggle to get something done then. We went to do park run together as well as a family. So I did 20 by 75 seconds up and down the side of a road in Kendal, which was an okay running surface. I felt not great. I've been a bit mucusy for the last few days, a bit of a cold, but I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. It was like a big drive the evening before. It was pretty horrible weather. It was cold. It was raining, and I just need to get something done. So I did 20 by 75 seconds of 30 seconds recovering. Paces were fine. Like, I think started off pretty slow, to be honest. I was like 3:10 a k, got down to like 2:50 a k at the end, but heart rates were fine. Legs just felt a bit tired. What's I peak heart rate at? Well, my heart rate glitched at the start, so it's saying I'm maxed at 194, but I think heart rate only got up to like 163, 164. But I was just a bit struggling for motivation this day. I would have liked to have done some longer intervals. I want like some sort of like continuous tempo running is like the last hard session of before the taper, but logistically it just wasn't going to happen. So that's real world, isn't it? Real life. I got something done. I'm just happy to get something done, to be honest. Nothing else to say there. Finished off the drive that day, so got up to Peebles in the Scottish borders, where the wedding was happening. Just did for 30 minutes that evening. So that was Friday. Saturday was a wedding day, so I wasn't going to double again. But so instead, I did 20k by myself and then pushed Nye around the park run for the last 5k. I got a bit carried away with park run. I knew a few people there. Didn't want to get beat. Wanted to try and win it with the buggy, but it's a really tough course. So this wasn't very professional of me, or like it's like professional outlook attitude, I think. But I ran the park run pretty hard. I only ran 18:50, but it was really hitty. And in a buggy, the hills like really get you. I think my heart rate got up to like 164, so it wasn't super hard, but yeah, 25.6k running that morning, 4:22 a k average. Beautiful part of the world. Really nice like cycle path to run along, which was pretty flat. Seeing the Scottish hills on either side. Then yeah, park run was a bit tough, a bit of an effort, but I sort of felt like I didn't do that much the day before, so it was fine. Saturday daytime wedding, few too many drinks probably, but nothing horrendous. Then Sunday 30k easy, 4:13 a k again on this pretty nice bike path out from Peebles, which was very pleasant. Very good running, very nice, freezing cold, but yeah, good fun. Nice to be training somewhere different. And yeah, that was the week. What was that? 184k, 114 miles. One really good session, one averagey session. Pretty happy. I think I'm sort of if you couldn't tell already, my head is sort of in taper mode now. I'm just sort of thinking about, right, great session on Tuesday. Right, just bank that, tick over, keep things going. I knew that the weekend was always going to be hard because lots of driving, somewhere new with Nye, sleeping, not knowing where to train was always going to be a bit of a challenge. But all things considered, yeah, it was all right. Not how I'd have planned in an ideal world, not how I'd have planned to finish a marathon block, but yeah, when it's someone's wedding, you can't say no, can you? And it was a really nice wedding. Thank you for the invitation, Katie and Henrik. It was a great wedding in a castle as well, Scottish castle. It's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But yeah. And managed to fit a good amount of training in, so I can't complain. I'm pretty good at finding time and places to train, and it is nice running somewhere different as well. So yeah, solid week. I did look up the training time in training zones. I've got it here. 11 hours in zone 1, an hour 19 minutes in zone 2, only 51 minutes in zone 3, and nothing in zone 4 and 5. So actually not that much intensity in there, but that was partly because of actually heart rate was just quite low during the 2 sessions I did, and they weren't massive sessions, so yeah, enough to maintain things, and yeah, I think that's about it for the week, really.
Yeah, and that's sort of it for the big work, isn't it? Like, trying to think. I don't know if you do a long one this coming week. I guess people can listen next week, but
yeah, we'll get. I'm. It's funny because for the athletes I'm coaching, I plan it out. I try at least have a good idea, even if I've not put it into my training piece. I've got a good idea what they're going to be doing for the next few weeks. Whereas my own training, again, I have a rough idea, but I don't have an Excel spreadsheet. I used to have a massive Excel spreadsheet with it all detailed out, and going like 10 weeks out, I'd know what I'd be doing on the the last session before the marathon. But I take it much more by ear now. And
you sort of inadvertently like partly answered the question, so we might as well just finish it. I'm just getting here we go. Oh, it's Henry again. Whoever Henry is that didn't leave their surname 2 weeks in a row. He just asked when do you decide what workout you're going to do, and like any structures. And he asks, are you fairly well planned out over a rolling 10 to 14 day horizon? That's a no.
I mean,
do you have key workouts you do? How have you put this block together?
Yeah, I mean, I know where what sessions I'd like to build towards, like that 4x4 miles I did. Like I knew that I wanted to do a few of them. And my week is pretty fixed in that I do sessions on Tuesday and Friday because that's a time in my life where it works well. But what the sessions are, I'm a bit reactionary, I think, to what I need to feel like I need to work on, and I think that's a good thing. I think before I was too fixed, and I would have too much structure and go, right, this is what I'm going to do. This, for the next 10 weeks, every Tuesday I'm going to do this session, every Friday I'm going to do this session. But I am a bit more. It depends what I feel like I need to work on. Do I need to improve our LT2? Do I want to do something that's more longer marathon specific to improve that like durability and that just being able to be strong at the end of a marathon? They're like the thought processes I'm going through. And then I basically have a battery of sessions that I've done in the past, which I might change slightly, but depending on what I need to target. So do I feel like I've got to fight? Do I feel like I'm mechanically a bit rubbish at the slower speed? So I'll do a threshold-based session, but like I did on Tuesday, and with some 75 seconds of 30 seconds recovery, so I can run at a faster speed and just feel, how do I respond to that? What's my lactate like? What's my heart rate like? If that's feeling great and I'm running a marathon, then I go, well, I don't need to touch that again for a couple of weeks. That's fine. If I'm building towards a 5K and that pace is feeling pretty awful, then I go, well, I need to do a bit more of that sort of stuff. So I used to plan out loads, but I sort of just found that it would always change anyway. So I just have I think I just have a bank of sessions that I know if I want to improve, if I want to do something marathon specific, like what am I going to do there? I try and progress the sessions as well. So I'm not just doing the same every week. Like, I did 10 by 6 minutes at 19.1k an hour. I've built it up to 12 times 6 minutes with like that 4x4 session. Like that was like the building as part of that. I build towards that. I did 8x3k of 1k float, which is at similar paces. Well, paces were a bit slower actually on the 3ks compared to the 4 miles. So it was still 20 miles of running, but more of it was at a faster pace in the 4x4 mile. So I do try and build on what I've done previously.
I think if maybe, I don't know, like sometimes can sound a bit like, it's like nihilistic the right word, but like there's not really much like to running, so you're just trying to bank an amount of work at a certain intensity, and then how you decide to do that, like it's down to the individual, and you're happy to do a lot of sessions on a treadmill, which is not particularly, mentally stimulating. So you're probably also going to be predisposed to, like, just saying, okay, I need 60 minutes of work. 10 by 6 minutes is a pretty efficient way to do that. And then, somewhere between, 5 minutes and 10 minutes for the intervals. And then, roughly the rest you want to have off that. This part that's dictated by taking a lactate. And then you're just like, okay, how much work do I want to do? That's how many reps I'll do. And there's not really much to it, because you don't need to do something completely different every week, because otherwise you just get bored and you don't do it.
Yeah. And even on the track though, like I was getting more outside in the summer, but it's just the light at the minute, which is a bit of an issue for me, like training early as well and just having good running. But yeah, there's only so many ways you can mix it up. Right, a training session, like we'll get rounds to be inside and outside, and if you want to accumulate a good amount of work, and I like actually repeating sessions or having sessions where I can go right, at least have similar blocks of time, like 6 minutes or whatever, so I can go, am I making progress, are things going in the right direction, and if not, I probably need to change something up. I actually think, but I used to be like that, like every session I'd never try and repeat the same session, whereas if you look at a lot of what the Norwegians are doing, I've heard a quote from Jakob saying, I've done 25 times 400 or 30 seconds recovery every week since I was like 15. That's probably a bit extreme, but you could just have like a rotation of 5 or 6 sessions, and they're going to tick all your boxes, and you just rotate between them. Right, and just emphasizing different stimuli, like do you need to do something a little bit faster, a bit slower, a bit longer, or a bit more controlled, like, so there's only so many ways you can do it, so I actually quite like repeating it.
And you can then when we're talking about like your actual training planning, like you can adapt it to, have you raced like the weekend before, or you coming in this block, especially, are you coming off an illness, or so where ideally you might do like 10 by 6 minutes, but actually feeling heavy legs, you've been ill the week before, so maybe, okay, it's only 8 by 6 minutes, and your body doesn't see it. Your body's not like, oh, we're doing 6 minute reps today instead of 5 minute reps. It just sees that stress at the end of it. I don't know, I'd be curious to sort of like know if people that read and understand and plan their training around like physiology, just sort of get to this point of just being like, oh, it's just accumulating work at an intensity, and you don't have to get like really creative with sessions, or whether there are still people that need to be like, once you sort of understand, you're just like, well, I just need to tick this physiological box.
Yeah,
I think people do the session.
People do overcomplicate it. I do think people overcomplicate it. Like, I mean, I don't need that much entertaining, which is why I can go on a treadmill and do 12 by 6 minutes.
And you're not worried if you do 6 minute reps the next week.
No.
It's not, you don't look at that and then dread it for a week, even though although you've not written it down, but like you're not worried about that. Like, that's not causing you stress about your training, because you're just thinking, well, that's the target, that's the aspect of physiology I need to target. That's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think also the other thing about repeating sessions is, like, I know if something's off. Like if suddenly like things are, if a pace, if I'm doing 6 minute reps and my heart rate is way off what it was a week ago, and my pace is, and the effort is way off, my legs are feeling awful, then like your physiology is not going to change that much in a week. So there's something going on, like you've got a bug, or maybe you're a bit overtrained, or maybe you're not fueled properly. Like you can be more precise. Whereas if it's, if you're just doing random, like, if you're doing like grass reps or something like that, or just like just you're mixing the sessions up all the time, then you don't know, is it are you having a bad day, or is it just that you've never done it, or is it just that this is your normal response to that session? Is it the conditions? Like, there's just so many variables. So I do think I feel like I've got a really good idea of, I think I could predict pretty closely what I'd run over any distance at a given time point. In terms of like in terms of like race performance, and I know, like, if I'm running this speed for 6 minute reps, I'm pretty sure I know what I know what I should go and run 3 minute reps at, and all of that. But I think you could get away with just doing a pretty similar schedule every year, every Tuesday and Friday for the whole year without too much variability in there. That's just not that psychologically stimulating, is it?
Yeah, and it's down to the individual where they draw that line, isn't it, of what's interesting to them or what keeps them motivated.
Yeah. And you got to try. I think it's good to try out different sessions as well, like mixing things up and like doing minute reps but running them quite controlled, and like seeing what your response is to that. But I've done all of that now, and I feel like I have explored a little bit in this block. Like I extended out to 12 by 6 minutes, which is the biggest threshold session I've ever done. But yeah, you don't want to just keep mixing every session up.
Yeah, hopefully that slightly answers your question, Henry. So I don't know, maybe some housekeeping. I guess next time we record this series, it will be race week. We haven't talked about how we're going to record that week apart. Like we'll do a 1 week to go episode, but haven't talked beyond that. So if people have questions about what kit Dan's going to wear, what his pacing strategy is going to be, like we'll go through that. But yeah, send us your questions about the race, because that might be the last time we talk on the podcast before the race itself. So yeah, if people have questions before the day, let us know. But yeah, by the time of recording this, it's a week and a half to go. Hopefully in a good place physically and mentally. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else for me. So I guess see everyone next week.
Yeah. I mean, it's got close, isn't it? Like, a week, or just over a week, I'll be flying out. So that's exciting. And thanks, I guess, for the people that have been sticking up this series, because actually numbers have been pretty steady. I thought they might get put off over the course of 8 weeks of prepping, but we've been holding pretty good numbers for our Road to Valencia series. So nice that you've been following along, and thanks for all the messages I get on Strava and Instagram and all that, because it is nice to know that other people are following along. But,
nice. See everyone next week. Cheers for listening.